between Ephraim and Rabbi Joseph Edery. So here you will receive the advertising, before the movie, before the film. So the Zoom call number 5 will be divided in 3 parts. So sorry, we were interrupted due to a conflict of scheduling. So I'm now on my private account, and we will have 40 minutes left now for recording.
Okay, 1 second. Let me just.
And of course,
minute.
People realized, oops, I have another background picture.
Okay, good.
Hello. So I thought, Donald Trump, who stands for the Bible, who wants to bring about showdown in Zion,
Okay, so where were we?
I think
the blessings.
On the blessings, 48, Genesis 48.
Genesis 48, verse 10. Or verse 8. Let's go. Okay. And he says, Vayar Yisrael as Bnei Yosef. Israel saw the children of Yosef, and he said, Mi ele, who are these? Yosef said to his father, Vayomer Banaihem, they are my children, my sons. Asher Natan li Elokim bazeh.
And think about this, how prophetically this is. Now you're sitting now in Israel, of course your name is Joseph, and I'm saying I'm Israel, I'm Ephraim. And basically what it is, who are these? Who are these guys? Who are these guys? And I think it's super duper it's super duper prophetically, because as if Jacob wouldn't know who Ephraim and Manasseh were after he hang out with them for 17 years.
Right, but so let's read Rashi and the Jewish oral tradition to see what he has to say and what's going on here under the veil of
under
simplicity.
Under the hood.
So Rashi says, Vayar Yisrael es bnei Yosef, and Israel saw the children of Yosef. Bikesh levarcham, he wanted to bless them. Venistalka shchina mimenu, and the godly presence, the shchina, disappeared from him. Because lefisha asid Yeravam ve'achav letes me'Ephraim, Yeravam and Achav, which were horrible, sinful kings, would come out from Ephraim. The Yehu uvanov mimenashe, and Yehu and his children from Menashe also, caused a lot of anguish for the Jewish people. Vayomer mi ele, and he said to Yosef, who are these? Where did these two come from that they don't have, they are not ra'ui, they're not ready or proper for a bracha, for a blessing. And Vayomer Yosef el Aviv, and Yosef told his father, Banaihem asher natan li Elokim bazeh. These are my children, which Hashem gave me with this. Bazeh her'alo shtar erusin ushtar ktuba. He showed him his ktuba, his marriage contract, and shtar erusin, his engagement contract. And at that moment, ubikesh Yosef rachamim ala davar, and Yosef realized that there's a kitrug, an evil cloud that's stopping, a commotion in heaven, which is preventing Yaakov, his father, from having Shechina, the godly presence, to be able to bless his kids. At that moment, Yosef was praying and asking for mercy on this thing. And then at that moment, when he shows him his ketubah, and that split moment, Yosef can pray for a moment and beg Hashem that Yaakov be able to bless his children. Nacha alav Ruach HaKodesh, the Ruach HaKodesh, the godly spirit, comes back to Yaakov, and he can bless them, and then you see the next words is Vayomer kachem na elai v'avarachem, bring them to me and I will bless them. Right? And then we go into the next passage. One second, and Rashi continues and he says, this is what it says in the verse, Va'anochi tirgalti le'Ephraim, chacham al zoratav. I have gotten used to the spirit of Yaakov for Ephraim till he took them on his hands. Yosef saying that he helped his father receive the spirit back in order that Yaakov should take him on their hands. Okay. Vayotze Yosef otam. After he hugged, he kissed them. Yosef took them out of from between his legs. That's later after the blessing. Okay, so let's go back and see verse 10. Ve'enei Yisrael kavdu mizoken, and the eyes of Israel were heavy from old age. Lo yuchal lirot, he couldn't see them very well. Vayagesh otam elav vayishak lehem v'chabek lehem, and Yosef brings them to Yaakov and he hugs them and he kisses them and he hugs them. Vayomer Yisrael el Yosef, and Israel says to Yosef, Ra'o panecha lo filalti v'hine her'a oti Elokim gam et zarecha. To
How
see your
old do you
face.
think they? How old do they? You think they are?
If I had to guess without looking, 30 something years old, something like that. 40 something years old, maybe 30, 40 years old. If I had to guess, but
No, they must be teenagers. Must be teenagers. Joseph was 30 when he was put on the throne. Then he went 7 years with a good harvest, 7 years of plenty. In that time, Ephraim and Manasseh were born. And then the first or second, and then Jacob comes back and stays 17 years. So so this is now when he is 147. And
no, but you have to remember that Manasseh and Ephraim were capable, lethal, dangerous people by the time the tribes came to talk to Yosef. Manasseh was already an adult. He was Yosef's translator, pretend translator for the tribes. So when Yehuda is talking smack to Yosef, Yosef is sitting there in the throne, Manasseh and Ephraim to his right and left, and then Yehuda is talking, I'm gonna go burn the entire Egypt to the ground, and Yosef is looking at him and says, three of us can, thinking, and we went through this I think last time, three of us can kill you right now. How in the world is he even daring to speak such garbage in front of us? So if I had to take that into consideration, that Manasseh and Ephraim were capable young men and they were helping Yosef throughout the process of pulling his brother's leg, I would have to say that add that and then add the 17 years that Yaakov grew up with them, and you get about roughly 30, but that's just my guess. Again.
Yeah, it makes definitely sense that they're definitely over 17.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Plus, then maximum plus 7 years from the harvest, 7, 8 years. I think Ephraim was a bit younger. Perhaps he was 20, and then Manasseh was somehow 24, 25 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, but they're okay. They were definitely not young boys anymore. They were not definitely children anymore.
But when people are living to 500, who's a young boy? I'm a young guy, right? Okay,
yes,
let's see.
You are. You have now the time of, Joseph started with 30. King David started with 30. And of course, Jesus started always with 30. Ephraim also started with 30.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a good age. It's a perfect age, 30.
It's
You know?
if we go into if we're talking about 30, then in the books of Pirkei Avot, Ethics of Our Fathers, it says Ben Shloshim Ligvora. The age of 30 is the strength, and it's not just the age 30. It's the years from 30 to 40 is the imperial age of a person's life. So that's just something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's see the blessing. Let's see what happened. So Yaakov, now named Yisrael, says to Yosef, if I only had to see your face, I would be happy. And now I get to see also, Hashem blessed me to see your Zarecha, your seed, your children.
Your offspring, it says here.
Yes. Vayotze Yosef otam mi'im birkav vayishtachu la'afav arza. And Yosef took them out of the embrace, and they bow to Yaakov. ויקח יוסף את שניהם, את אפרים בימינו, משמאל ישראל, ואת מנשה בשמאלו, מימין לישראל. So Yosef, being the master strategist, of course, we have to remember that he was second in command to Egypt, which is the imperial country and the domination of the world at the time. And he is, for 7 years, the #1 distributor of food for the entire planet. So he is setting up his kids in the order that he thinks is correct to get the blessing. So he puts Menashe, which is the older one, to his left, which is Yaakov Avinu's right. And he puts Ephraim to his right, which is Yaakov Avinu's left. Et Ephraim בימינו משמאל לישראל, ואת מנשה בשמאלו מימין ישראל. ויגש אליו. וישלח ישראל את ימינו וישת על ראש Ephraim. And Israel takes his right hand and puts it on the head of Ephraim. So we have a situation where Yaakov is like this. Puts his hands the opposite of what Yosef was trying to set up. והוא הצעיר, and he's the younger one. ואת שמאלו על ראש מנשה. סיכל את ידיו כי מנשה הבכור. ויברך את יוסף, and he blessed Yosef. ויאמר, האלוקים אשר התהלכתי אבותיי לפניו אברהם יצחק, האלוקים הרואה אותי מעודי עד היום הזה, המלאך הגואל אותי מכל רע, יברך את הנערים ויקרא בהם שמי, בשם אבותיי אברהם ויצחק, וידגו לרוב בקרב הארץ. So he blesses Yosef and he says, the okay. God which I
have here like the New King James. The New King James. The King James is like the official translate. You know, it's. I think it's quite important one to understand that the official King James version is the version now King Charles has to abide by, because he is now the head of the Church of England and the defender of the faith. Yeah, what can I say? Yeah. And he's a Mason, and he is. I don't want to go into this, but
they should hire me and you to do a translation.
Well,
we could do better.
They will. At the end, we'll fix this here. But it says here, God before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked. So now we are talking about the blessings of Abraham and Isaac. You know, who went over to Yaakov, and he's passing them on now. The God who has fed me all my life, long to this day, the angel who has redeemed me from all evil. So the angel, I think, you know, there is this strange angel of the Lord throughout Scripture.
Yes.
You know,
every person has an angel in heaven, which is his sar, his minister.
Yeah.
And where you see when Yaakov is fighting the angel earlier on, he's fighting Esav's angel, which Esav was able to bring down.
What they say, but I think, you know, that the angel.
But by the way, there's another thing I want to point out to all the Christians that don't have Rashi. I want to point out because I see a lot of times it's so sad for me to see it, but I have to point this out. Sometimes when it says Elohim, it means a messenger. Sometimes when it says a malach, it means a messenger. I just want to point that out. So not every time it says malach or Elohim or malach Elohim does it necessarily mean God or an angel. Sometimes it just means a messenger. The
Yes.
reason a malach is called an angel as well is because the malach has no existence of himself. He's just a messenger of Hashem. But not every time it says Elohim is it God, and not every time it says malach is it an angel. I just want to point that out.
I mean, especially with Elohim, there is an altar called Elohim. Moses is Elohim to Pharaoh and Aaron. You have judges called Elohim. And this is a big issue because, Christian thinks, okay, it's like God Almighty, like Elohim, but it's just a title. It's just a title.
Yeah.
And then they mess a lot of things up. So I'm fully aware of this, and of course, the issue with the angels being messengers. I think this is something which is actually also transmitted in the New Testament, for that matter of purpose, where the angels are just merely guys, who transmit a message. But so now, of course, we had the angels who went to Abraham. There were three guys, Are you still there? Wait a second.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So suddenly, okay, now the conversion of the last thing was, so it switched out here. So, as we see, yes, there are angels, but sometimes they just appear as mere dudes, as men. So they look like men, but they are actually angels sent by God, and these are the messengers. So it's not necessarily that all the angels are supernatural beings.
100%.
You
Okay, so
I found it, in this, the angel who has redeemed me from all evil. There is this angel of the Lord, who is also in Zechariah, in front of the throne of with Satan, where Satan accuses, and then the angel of the Lord stands by. And I honestly believe that this angel of the Lord is the one who keeps track of the firstborn.
So I can tell you what Rashi says if you want to know about the angel.
Yes, let's see what does Rashi says.
Okay. Hamalach hagoeloti, the angel which redeems me. Malach haragil lihishtalech elai betzarati, the angel which is usually sent to me during times of trouble. Like it says, ke'inyan shenemar, like it says in the verse, vayomer elai malach haElokim bachalom, and he said to me, the angel of God in the dream, Yaakov, and so on. Anochi hakel bet kel, I am the God, the house of God. Okay, so it seems that Hashem kept sending this angel to Yaakov, and we see many times when Yaakov is dreaming, he has an angel going up and down the ladders, and there's different times when Yaakov Avinu has these angels that are coming to help him. So this is kind of Hashem's way of just throwing something out there to help Yaakov, because it was important that he, be successful and so on. So he's blessing the children that they should also merit these angels. The malach which saves me from all evil. Yivarech et hanearim, what does Rashi say? Menashe ve'Ephraim, these youngsters, these teenagers. V'yidgu larov, and they should be multiplied. Yidgu in Hebrew, dag is a fish.
Yeah.
Kadagim halalu sheparim veravim, like these fish which are plentiful and multiply. Ve'ein ayin hara sholetet bahem, and no evil eye affects them or controls them. And this is also in continuation with Yosef's blessing, which is Alei Shor, rise the bull, like we will see. Anyway, we'll get to that soon. Vayar Yosef. So Yaakov Avinu is halfway into the blessing, pretty much. And then Yosef sees כי ישית אביו את יד ימינו על ראש אפרים, וירא בעיניו, ויתמוך יד אביו להסיר אותה מעל ראש אפרים על ראש מנשה. So Yosef sees that his right hand is on the head of Ephraim, and he
is
thinks
displeased,
that
so he
that's
took hold of his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head to Manasseh's head.
yes.
You know?
ויאמר יוסף אל אביו, לא כן אבי, כי זה הבכור. שים ימינך על ראשו, put your right hand on the bekor's head. And his father tells him, I know, he will also be, גם הוא יהיה לעם, גם הוא יגדל. He will also be a great nation, and he will also grow. ואולם אחיו הקטון יגדל ממנו. His younger son, but his younger brother, will be greater than him. וזרעו יהיה מלוא הגויים, and his seed will be throughout the nation.
Genau, Melo Haguim, the fullness of the Gentiles. You know?
Goyim is the nations.
Yeah,
I know you're eager. You're looking.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is, you know, the fullness of the Gentiles. You know, this is the Melo Haguim, the Goyim. You know.
Okay.
So,
okay. Let's see. Melo Hagoyim. What does Rashi say? You want to know what Rashi says about Melo Hagoyim?
Yeah. What does Rashi say? You know.
Okay.
what does Rashi say?
מלוא הגויים, כל העולם יתמלא בצאת שמעו ושמו, כשיעמיד חמה בגבעון וירח בעמק איילון. So we know this is actually connected to Gimel Tammuz, the day when the Rebbe was hidden from us.
Okay.
And the Rebbe speaks about Gimel Tammuz, and historically, the day that Gimel Tammuz is the day that the Rebbe, quote unquote, according to legal documents, passes away. But you know, anyway. So what happens historically on Gimel Tammuz is that the Jewish people are fighting a war, and they finally start to get some victory, but the sun is setting. Now, the problem with this is that if the sun sets, then the enemies can run away and hide. They can regroup, and they come back the next day, and it's all over again. So after a full day of fighting and slashing and crashing, the Jews are. This is the famous miracle of Shemesh Begivon Dom, when
the
Jewish
sun does not
prophet,
set, you know,
for 24 hours, the sun stood in the heavens in order to give time for the Jews to chase down their enemies and kill them to the last man. And this is the miracle of Shemesh Begivon Dom. And what's amazing about this miracle is it's a miracle that the whole world found out about, because this prophet is praying, the sun is not moving, the Jews are winning, and imagine you're on the other side of the world, and if it's night, it's night. It's going to be night for the next 24 hours. And if you're in the afternoon, it's the afternoon for the next 24 hours. And if it's the daytime, it's the morning, it's the morning. And the whole world's like, what's going on? What happened with the sun? And then eventually they find out that this prophet from the nation of Ephraim, this prophet from the tribe of Ephraim,
what a
holding the sun hostage in the sky, is holding the sun in the sky in order that the Jews should have their victory in the battle. So Rashi says that his name will go out to the entire world, and the entire world will hear about him and his victory when he will hold the sun Begivon and the moon Be'emek Ayalon. So that's how that's the day. That's his 5 minutes of going viral of Ephraim, you know.
Ooh, I think there are some absolutely super duper more viral issues, but I think, you know, to hold the sun for a day, I think it's also pretty cool. I think, you know,
well, I'm sure if you do that, you'll have a much easier time convincing everybody about all kinds of great things.
Yes,
you know what
yes, absolutely. Of course. You know.
Okay. I think that now you're mad at Rashi because he raised the bar very high, huh?
So the only, you know, so Rashi was the only guy who was actually, you know, learning directly with Rashi, you know. So we
No,
are
but
now
this is true. This is true
stuck with
that
the rest.
Givon is the whole story was you know, that was the day that look, the survival of the Jewish people had there's certain points in history when the survival of the Jewish people was on a thread, you know, and then and if a situation changed in this way or that way, it would mean the end of the Jewish people. If not, you know, the nations of the world love to say, "Oh, the Jews, they're always around. How you know God protects them and this and that." But if you really look into it, you see that you know there were many miracles that happened in order for that to be true. You know? Okay, so let's continue in the blessing because we remember we were going to say, okay, let's go. Vayevarchem. By the way, I can read it the way it's supposed to be read in the Torah if you want. Vayevarchem vayemahu lemor becha yivarech Yisrael lemor simcha elokim ki Menashe keEphraim v'chi Menashe vayosem es Ephraim lifnei Menashe ויאמר ישראל אל יוסף הנה אנוכי מס והיה אלוהים עמכם והשיב אתכם אל ארץ אבותיכם ואני נשאתי לך שכם אחת על אחיך אשר לקחתי מיד האמורי בחרבי ובקשתי. This is the way you would hear it if you go to the synagogue and so on. So, Vayevarchem, he blessed them on that day. In you will be blessed Israel. And remember, Yisimcha Elokim, God should put you Ephraim v'chi Menashe, like Ephraim and Menashe. And he put Ephraim before Menashe. So this is what we spoke about earlier, and I said we will mention it in the show. That what's so special about blessing all of the children of Israel and including them in this special spirit of this blessing of Menashe and Ephraim. And my father spoke to me about this, and he said that one of the pirushim that he studied about this is that the fact that Yaakov was impressed by the humility, again, this whole conversation about this one's going to be bigger, this one's going to be greater, all this is happening, and Menashe and Ephraim are sitting there listening to this, and he says, you're going to be a greater nation, you're also going to be good, you know, all this, you know, dividing of the territories like that casually. And Menashe and Ephraim are quiet, they're humble, they're sitting respectfully listening to their father and their grandfather talk, and they don't say a word. They sit on the floor like we saw earlier. They're probably sitting up on their knees on the floor after they bow down. When we say bow down, we mean head to the floor, hands down. So they bow to Yaakov in respect, and then they're sitting there on the floor between his knees, and they're quiet and they're respectful, and it doesn't bother them that one's getting a bigger blessing or a smaller blessing. Of course, Yaakov Avinu had to fight for his blessings. Him and Esav, their whole life was pretty much, you know, cat and mouse running away from each other because of the blessings. So when Yaakov sees how calm and collected and disciplined and humble Menashe and Ephraim are, he says, I want this blessing, I want this unity, I want this humility to be the blessing of the Jewish people forever and ever, for the children of Israel forever and ever, that they should always be humble with each other. And that's a great thing about the blessing of Menashe and Ephraim.
Yeah, but here is here's one of the issues, you know, with I mean, we have two parts of the blessing. You know, we have the first part, and then after Yossi came in and said, no, you have to change. No, buddy, Joseph, you know, yes, I know. So then we have the second part of the blessing. Now, in the first part, you know, we had, you know, the blessing, the angel who redeemed me from all evil, blessed let my name be named upon them. So when we are talking about the name, so it's not Yaakov, it's Israel. So the name Israel, the title, you know, which was handed over by God to Israel, to Jacob. So he is transferring this title Israel to Ephraim and Manasseh. And this is why later on they become the northern kingdom of Israel. Because the
One
name
second here. One second.
Israel,
Which verse are you referring to? First of all, so I should be with you here.
48:16.
16. Let me see. Tesvav. But okay, let me translate that loosely if it's okay with you. Vayevarech Yosef. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, that's the 60. Okay. So 1 second. We'll do 15 and then 16 because it starts over there, I think. Vayevarech et Yosef, and he blessed Yosef. Vayomar, and he said, Ha'elokim asher hishalchu avotai lefanav, the God which my fathers went before, Avraham v'Yitzchak, Avraham and Yitzchak. Ha'elokim, and then let's like stop right there, and then continue. Ha'elokim haro'e oti me'odi ad hayom hazeh, the God which ro'e is like ro'e tzon, a shepherd, which shepherds me from when I remember myself till this day. Hamalach hagoel oti mikol ra, the angel that saves me from all evil. Yivarech et hanearim, will bless the children, the Menashe and Ephraim. V'yikare bahem shemi, and they will be called in my name. B'shem avotai, in the name of my fathers. Avraham v'Yitzchak. V'yidgu laro v'kerev haaretz. Now, okay, Ulf, I just want to point out before you go into detail on your explanation. The simple explanation is that like we said, Yaakov manages to grow with these children for 17 years, and he considers them his own, and he wants to include them in the blessings just like the rest of the tribes. So that's the simple explanation. That he's putting his name on them, and you don't see this happen to any of the other tribes. You don't see, Yehuda's kids getting any special treatment or anything. So this is something unique.
And I did, of course, he didn't see, Yaakov did not see the guys as tribes. He just saw them as his grandchildren, as the sons
individuals,
of God, yeah. As individuals, without knowing, neither Abraham nor Isaac nor Yaakov never ever heard about us. We heard about them, but they didn't hear about us. Unfortunately,
they may have seen with Ruach Hakodesh, with divine inspiration. It's very possible.
Yeah,
they were blessing them as if they saw us. So they were blessing them like they saw.
Yeah, so, yeah. In a way, but this is when the so here now the whole thing issue with the name, and you see this. I mean, this is one of the hindrances, in the translation, because the names are never translated. So when you have Ephraim meaning double fruitfulness, you don't see in the text when you have a Bible translation into German or any other language, you never translate the names with it. So when you read this in Hebrew, of course, it has a complete, much deeper meaning, just because of the meaning of the names. Now, from the, I think the best way to describe this is what, the Yaakov, which means, holding on to the, your brother's chick.
Heel, yeah.
And then is Israel, being a, either a prince who rules with God or, somebody who fights,
fights the angel, yes.
Yeah. So, but of course, it's not translated. So when it says here the name, in a way, in Hebrew, and I hope you can confirm this, it's really about the character of the person. It's about the character, because this why Abram was renamed Avraham as the father of many nations, so that his name reflects his character. Now the same thing with Yaakov, who changes over time, from just a guy who survives to become Israel. I mean, it's a.
Well, let me add to what you're saying. We have an incident in the Torah later on when Korach is doing some things that are inappropriate and not something to be happy about, and we see specifically that they say who he is and where his family's from, but they stop at a certain point. They stop. They don't say all the way up because he's a disgrace, pretty much. And you won't want him in the name of the family, even though it's obvious to everybody that he is from the Shevet Levi and the son of Yaakov. But at a certain point, Rashi also speaks about that over there as well. He points it out. And he says the reason why Korach wasn't mentioned all the way up is because he was doing things that the family name doesn't want to be associated with. So here, I think one of the underlying messages is that Yaakov wants to associate himself. He's like, I met these kids. I know they're good boys. I want my name to be on them in the future generations. Like, I'm confident that they are good people, and I would take pride and be happy that these are my grandchildren, I want them to be considered like they're my children, as far as the other thing later.
So what I'm, would like you to consider, we have like the the thing of Jacob's leather, the vision of Jacob's leather, where the ladder, Jacob's ladder.
Ladder.
Yeah. So, where the angels serve, so the next morning, of course, Yaakov, wakes up and anoints the stone. So this is in the moment after he just came out. He, after Esau sold his birthright, he hands it over to Israel, and now he flees out. No wife, no kids, no nothing. So I believe that the stone represents, the future descendant who will inherit everything. Now, when Yaakov now finally comes to Egypt and sees his son Joseph, and then even his grandchildren, the lads, the lad, this is always, when it says here that, the lads, it's always like, okay, it sounds like young, but we found out they are not that young, but anyway, I really believe that after he saw being cut off from Joseph, so he sees Joseph and now sees Ephraim, meaning double fruitfulness. Meaning, I mean, that's just the meaning. So in his mind, okay, his prodigy, his most favorite son, Joseph, was gone. He was dead. And now he sees that he is even double fruitful. And he has even an Ephraim. So, and this is why he puts the whole issue on Ephraim, meaning double fruitfulness, with the view that at the end of time, well, Ephraim will be, the heir of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
A little bit of yeah, you could assume that, I guess. A bit of a stretch, I would say, but a little hop and a skip and a jump. But
yeah, we have now 4,000 years till then. Yeah, 4,000 years, approximately. Be'erech. Abraham was 4,000 years ago. After 100 years, he had Isaac. With 37, Isaac wanted to, so then, 137, Abraham died with 175. Okay. So we are in around that time, 4,000 years. And of course, okay, I will, we never talked about this. I just throw this in, So when Jacob, met right after he was converted into Israel, right? And he meets Esau. They say, okay, we will meet in Mount Zion, on Mount Seir. And that meeting never ever took place. It never happened, which is still, happening today, where I believe, okay, this is on Mount Zion, according to the prophet Obadiah.
No, Ve'alu Moshim Bahar Tzion, right? Lishport et Har Esav. But Har Esav would be, I would assume,
I think now we will have another interruption in very few seconds, because now I'm on the other side, on this other account.
Okay.
So it will switch off
so
automatically. I will dial in again, and then we finish this off.
Okay, I want to say also that many of the tribes get different blessings. Yeah, and we see some of them sound like curses, like we said, and the reason is also sometimes to hide. Like there was a story I will say about